From nearly losing an eye after a brutal kick to the face to a director being convinced he'd die after a head injury, here are the times Jackie Chan almost died while performing his stunts. First up, here's when he got a devastating high kick to the head and nearly lost an eye. The actor's now a household name because of his undying commitment to the action film genre and star power. Jackie does most of his stunts, and while he's gotten out fine overall, there have been times when he almost died. In a 1978 kung fu classic, a fight sequence had to be shot between him and actor Huang Zhang Li. Jackie wasn't able to dodge the powerful kick to the head in time though, because Huang's foot ended up smashing straight into his head. Honestly, if the foot was positioned just right, he might have gotten a life-ending head injury. Instead, the other actor's kick went straight to Jackie's eyebrow, which broke his eye socket. This injury could have cost him his eye or even taken away his sight permanently. It's a good thing that whoever was on set was thinking on their feet, because without immediate medical intervention, Chan might have been known his whole career for this devastating injury, rather than his ability to pull off some of the most difficult stunts. But if you're thinking this is the only time he was injured while shooting Drunken Master, let me stop you right there. The actor also had to deal with a lacerated eyebrow, and he still got the scar to prove it. Next, let's look at the time he cracked open a cold beer before shooting an action sequence, fracturing his skull in a death-defying stunt. In 1986, when the movie star was shooting Armor of God, he was asked to do a crazy stunt. Here's how it went down. The entire cast and crew were shooting at Yugoslavia, and there was one scene that involved alcohol. Now, Jackie said that he did most of his stunts sober when all of them should have probably been done clear-headed. But the story gets crazier. In one scene, the actor had to crack open a can of beer and then leap onto a tree from a ledge. Despite doing it flawlessly in the very first take, the stuntman, known for being a perfectionist, insisted that he'd do it better. It was too bad that his second attempt wasn't as good as the first, or as safely executed. The poor guy's second jump sent him crashing down the tree, slamming on his back, colliding with a rock and cracking open his skull. Jackie later explained that he'd cracked open quite a few beers before he performed the stunt. For his sake, I hope he didn't end up drinking too many of them. The actor was heavily bleeding from his ear and had to be taken to surgery ASAP. But known for his insane physical strength, he recovered almost immediately and was back to film the sequel. This injury and any such incident on the set hasn't affected his career at all. In fact, the actor's only just retired at 66, but before saying his final goodbye to Hollywood, the stuntman had yet another close call. The actor almost drowned. In 2020, while filming his latest action film Vanguard, the actor had to shoot a scene involving a jet ski. Everything was going according to plan when all of a sudden he found himself trapped underwater. Jackie couldn't swim up because he was stuck under a rock, and from that point he was fighting for his life. Honestly, that's a pretty scary position to find yourself in. And as the actor spoke to news outlets afterward, it became clear that the incident had traumatized him. He didn't even remember the events that led up to this near-death experience. In a candid press conference, he said that he had a flashback of the entire scene when he took a shower later that night. He said it all came back to him suddenly, and as it sunk in that he could have died, he started shaking uncontrollably. Now, it wasn't only Jackie who was freaked out by this entire event, but the cast and crew as well. Seeing a legend almost die on your set couldn't have been a fun experience. But despite the initial panic, they made sure to act quickly and get him the care he needed. It wasn't as simple as it sounds though, because his oxygen supply was running out by the minute. But the stuntman was delivered back to the shore, shaken but mostly unharmed. In fact, the actor is pretty unafraid because he dived through a real glass window instead of the safety one. While filming the sequel to Police Story, the movie star had to deal with a whole bunch of hard knocks. In one scene, he was supposed to vault over a bunch of buses and then make a dramatic entrance into a building by smashing through a glass window. No stuntman would dare to do this with a real glass window, and Jackie wasn't prepared to either. His team had set up a safety glass for him because the injuries that you can get from a full-on body collision with glass can be fatal. What happened was that the actor got a little confused during the stunt, completely misjudging his landing, and he ended up going through an actual glass window instead. As you might have expected, the injuries he got from that were serious. Jackie had cuts all over his face, neck, hands, and arms, but never one to back down or call it a day. He decided to wear flesh-colored bandages all over his body until filming was complete. Next up is his brush with death while filming Project A, and this neck injury could have been his last. In the clock tower fight sequence, he'd make his way outside of the monument and then hang on for his life from one of the clock's hands. He did all of this without any safety nets or support. The actor was supposed to loosen his grip on the clock and smash through 2 cloth rooftops below him, ending up on the ground. While this would have been a terrifying thing to do just once, Jackie decided that he wasn't satisfied with the first take and wanted to do the stunt 3 whole times. The third one almost proved to be fatal when Chan perfected the initial crashes, but then also crash landed on his neck. The actor was very close to breaking his neck, but good thing that his luck never runs out. He not only kept himself out of harm's way, but also stayed in character, bringing the scene to a proper end. You can watch your favorite action stars near brush with death on screen. He even said yes to Police Story 3, and on that movie's set, he once again came face to face with death. He tore his shoulder muscle to ribbons. In the final act of the film, Chan is fighting the bad guys on top of a train when a pole hits him in the gut and knocks him around, almost sending him falling into steel helicopter blades. In a take that was cut from the film, the actor accidentally grabs onto the pole but doesn't clear the helicopter. The impact he faced after that was so intense that his shoulder muscle was completely twisted. On top of that, he was left hanging on the pole until the emergency crew got him down. He's lucky that the impact was on his shoulder and not his neck, chest, or head. There's no part of his body that he hasn't severely injured, and yes, that includes his head. In fact, it was so bad that director John Woo thought he was dying. And you know how serious head injuries can be. Without the right or timely medical treatment, these can disable people for their entire lives, or worse, prove to be lethal. And that's exactly what the film star suffered from while filming Hand of Death in 1975. One of the worst injuries Jackie's ever gotten happened on the set of this film, when he leaped off a truck and hit his head on the way down. Before the wound started to make itself felt, the stuntman decided to brush it off and go for take 2. Seriously, man. After the second time though, his body gave out and the actor was unconscious for an hour. Besides being deadly, this injury was so disturbingly painful that the actor had John Woo completely convinced that he'd die, but it certainly wasn't the last time he walked away from a set wounded. Jackie's death-defying feats have been a staple in his career for more than 60 years. So from a director being convinced he'd die after a head injury, to nearly losing an eye after a brutal kick to the face, these were the times Jackie Chan almost died while performing his stunts.